I think we should all stop paying bribes.
You keep on doing it so long as you don't feel hurt or it doesn't affect you.
Each Ghanaian has a key role to play.
The way things are going, if care is not taken, or if not drastic action is taken, it won't augur well for all and sundry.
Corruption exists throughout the world, in developed and developing countries alike. In recent years, there have been significant increases in the attention paid to corruption, due in part to a series of high-level corruption cases in the industrialized countries, and increasing awareness of the costs of corruption throughout the world.
As for me, when you talk about corruption, it's like something big given to you to share among your people, but you alone, you want to use it.
It's the illegal way of getting what you want. Yeah.
For instance, you've been awarded a contract at Roads and Transport, and you need your documentations to be delivered or to push through. Before your document even goes for approval, the front desk, the people around the office will tell you, oh, say, bibi kakramba, your document cannot go through. Even the response, how they will correspond to you, you know, say, you need to give something to push your document. That comes with the corruption.
We corrupt our time. We corrupt our behavior. It is almost every facet of the society.
Corruption has got different definitions. I mean, formerly we used to concentrate more on the public sector, that is the abuse of any entrusted power for all public power for private gain.
Corruption is dishonest behavior by people in position, taking advantage of their position to enrich themselves unduly. And it occurs in every facet of our Ghanaian society, in the sense that people see it, not that they encourage it, but they do not prevent it. Possibly sometimes looking to take advantage of the situation.
Corruption happens at any level, both at the institutional level, at the individual level, but it's mostly at the public level where we have the public sector taking charge of all our resources, all our taxes. But we've come to realize that there is a thin line between the private person and the public person, because you've got individuals who work at private individuals, but they do work for the public sector. They do provide some public services for the public good. So these days, when you are talking about corruption, it happens in everywhere, both the private sector, the public sector, civil society, media, it's all over.
There is waste and fraud in many sectors of the economy, including critical social services such as education and health that affect the poor and vulnerable the most. Corruption is rife because citizens have limited knowledge on basic anti-corruption laws and structured channels to report incidences of corruption.
There is an increase in a lot of corruption issues and talk about corruption because people want better lives. We give government collects taxes, government takes loans on our behalf, and they are supposed to use these to provide for quality health, quality education, better houses. So people are demanding how these resources are also utilized.
I believe that there is the need for collective efforts in the fight against corruption. The effects of corruption on our development is very grave, and we think that everybody should take it seriously upon themselves. Each Ghanaian has a role to play in eliminating corruption in Ghana.
According to CDD's Afrobarometer study, out of every 5 Ghanaians, only 1 person is likely to report any incidents of corruption should it happen. This has been attributed to the limited knowledge on the anti-corruption laws and the appropriate channels of reporting.
Now, for corruption, as you rightly said, the report indicated that very few people are willing to report on issues of corruption. But before we get into that, I think it's also important to recognize that the report also said that more than 5 Ghanaians are not happy with the way government is handling the issue of fighting corruption. And if you look at Ghana specifically, increasingly from 2002, this perception has been increasing. So in 2002, when we had about 22% of Ghanaians dissatisfied with the way government was handling corruption, in 2012, we're looking at about 54% of that, which means that Ghanaians are not really happy with the way our governments are dealing with the issue of corruption. But more to that, which is very disturbing, is why we are not getting enough Ghanaians to report on issues of corruption.
Several governments have put in place institutions and laws to fight corruption. Some of these include the establishment of Public Procurement Authority, fast-track courts, Whistleblower Act 720, IOCO, SHRAJ, National Media Commission, and other anti-corruption organizations.
The Public Procurement Authority is the creation of the Public Procurement Act 2003. It's an act of parliament, and it actually provides the legislative framework, effective procedures for undertaking public procurement activities, especially when the use of public funds are concerned. Now, the act, as it stands, is supposed to be an anti-corruption tool, as well as a public financial management tool. So basically, the law has put in place various structures and procedures, as well as rules to govern the processes of procurement across board.
We see corruption as very harmful to the entire society, but more specifically to the poor and the disadvantaged in society, who go for public services, like wanting public education, like going to public hospitals for treatment, but failing to get quality treatment, failing to get quality drugs because somebody has diverted them. So that is our position, and that's why we've been fighting corruption. And we think that everybody, including the government, needs to stand up and say no to corruption.
Despite all these institutions and measures, Ghana seems to be losing the fight against corruption. Transparency International Corruption Perceptions Index 2012 indicated that Ghana is nearing the red zone of perceived corrupt countries in the world. This means that the rate of corruption in Ghana is perceived to be high. Also, the Global Corruption Barometer 2013, published by Transparency International, indicates that in Ghana, out of 2,000 respondents taken from the 10 regions, 54% reported that corruption increased in the past 2 years, and 82% felt that corruption is a problem. How then can we tackle this issue of corruption?
Speak Up is about empowering Ghanaians to be able to speak up against any form of corruption. We all know corruption is endemic. Various researches have shown that corruption is systematically endemic in Ghana. And then a CDD Afrobarometer indicated that out of every 5 Ghanaians, only 1 is likely to report any form of corruption. So this was based on the fact that there's limited knowledge on the anti-corruption laws and then the Whistleblower Act in particular. So we thought that one of the best ways to tackle this is to educate Ghanaians on the Whistleblower Act and the other anti-corruption laws, so that once they know about the law, they're able to apply it, and then we'll see a reduction in corruption in Ghana.
As Global Media Alliance, we've always believed in media for social good. And our goal really is to help develop the society around us. And so we've looked at some of the challenges we face as a country, and we believe corruption is one of the main issues that we need to confront head on. So we are not saying we are angels, but we are saying let us all do some kind of soul search and speak up against corruption. And with the media platforms that we have, we believe we should be able to tell a good story and to draw attention to the need for people to speak up against corruption.
I have written quite a fair bit on corruption for some years now. And so when I was approached by ETV and Global Media Alliance to host this program, I thought it was a no-brainer. It was something that I felt passionately about, and I felt that the general public needed to be informed about corruption, its consequences, and what the laws we have in Ghana to combat corruption.
This project that seeks to fight corruption through mobilizing citizens' inputs and citizens' involvement falls directly in line with the overall objectives of Start Ghana, which is to ensure that government is accountable, is transparent, and is responsive in the sense that these are the issues that we want, and these are the issues that are informing government's actions, not that we want this and government's actions are in the other way direction.
At the end of the day, we want to see a more informed society, a society that is aware of some of the dangers of corruption, a society that is aware that there's a whistleblower act that you can rely on and fall on to speak up against corruption, a society where we minimize corruption as a whole. That is why we have teamed up with the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition to help draw attention to the Whistleblower Act, to help draw attention to the dangers that we face as a country due to corruption, to help draw attention to the fact that as people and as citizens of Ghana, we can speak up against corruption. And so we believe that using our mediums and using our voices, we can inform the general public and the citizenry to speak up against corruption.
Countries like Korea, Malaysia and Singapore have successfully fought the menace of corruption. Since Singapore attained self-government in 1959, corruption control has been top of the government agenda. The fight against corruption is a collective responsibility of all Ghanaians. It is therefore demanding on all of us to contribute our efforts, no matter how small it is, in the fight against corruption. You can start by joining us. Speak up against any form of corruption so as to leave a better legacy for generations to come.
According to Mahatma Gandhi, the world has enough to meet everyone's need, but not enough to meet everyone's greed. Greed leads to corruption, and corruption is killing our country. Let us join, speak up, and speak up against corruption.
I urge all Ghanaians to speak up and let's rise up to fight corruption in this country. Without all of us, we shall not win.
Let's speak up against corruption.
Speak up.
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 I call on all citizens to speak up.
Speak up. People, speak up. Ghana, speak up.
Let us all join forces and speak up against corruption.